Why, you numbskull, we gotta get moving, because Steve Rizzo's show is on soon. Yeah, and it's called Hey, I'm Talking Here. Who's talking here? Why, you idiot. Oh! Hey, come on, fellas, quit fooling around. We got work to do, and the show's gonna be on soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hey, I Am Talking Here. Or is it Hey, I'm Talking Here? I'm Steve Rizzo. I am your host, and we have a really good show for you today. And it's something that can take a lot of different directions, I think. It's Don't Worry, Be Happy. As a matter of fact, we thought about this on our last show when somebody brought that song up, the song that used to piss me off every time I heard it. Don't worry, I'll be happy. And I just hated that song. And so we decided this would be a good topic. Don't worry, be happy. And there is quite a few different meanings to that title. And by the way, today is a very special day. It's please share, everyone, share this with friends, family, people you hate. Tell them to tune in. They might learn something. Jeez, help me, Lord. But this is a special show for me because it is my co-host's birthday today. And the first time I met her was a year ago today when she had me on her podcast called Find Me. It was a year ago today on her birthday. And we have become incredibly close as a result of that. As a matter of fact, if someone were to ask me at this point in time who my best friend is, I would say it's Debbie Bettendorf. We have become so close. We get along great. And you know what the irony is? The weird thing here is, folks, I never met her personally. We've never met in person, but we click, we get along, which just proves to me that there is something, there is a higher power somewhere working in our favor. And she is going to be doing the show from Dallas because she's there on business. She lives in Ohio, and she's been in Dallas for about almost a week now, taking care of a new business venture that she's on. And she's incredibly gifted. She's incredibly talented. And before I even bring up Bruce, I'm going to bring on Debbie, and everyone wish her a happy birthday.
Don't worry. Another birthday. Be happy. Who's counting candles? Not me.
Oh, look at you. Look at you, a little birthday thing on. That's pretty cool.
And, I packed this just for this show, Rizzo.
And before the show, we were talking. You had a pretty productive week, huh?
Oh, I'm over budget. Girls out there, October is my launch for my online boutique, and I cannot wait to bring it to you, to style you. I'm so excited.
Well, tell people about it. Tell people about the online. About the
well, you know what? I will, because it's been a journey in itself. It went from figuring out what I wanted to do and not doing exactly what I wanted to do because I was a little afraid. And then going from service industry businesses that I've had and I currently have, which I still love, and I style women and I do have men clients too, but the full puzzle is starting to come together. And this last piece is being able to style people in my own clothes. So I'm out at the Dallas market. It's overwhelming, but it's a beautiful journey. I'm having fun. I'm meeting new people. I'm buying things over my budget. I'm going to say that again, but I'm going to bring it to you, and I'm really excited about it. And I think in my heart that it's going to be more than just clothes. It's going to be a full experience. And, I already have a Find Your Fabulous crew that support me wholeheartedly, that are really excited about this new journey. And I think that once I go live with it, because it's all online, the new business is all online. And when I do my lives and show why I bought what I bought and what it is, I think it'll be really fun, and it'll be a whole community of growing together, emotionally, and self-awareness of what it's not about the clothes, but the clothes are good. We got to wear them. So you might as well look good in them. So I can't wait. It's fun. I'll talk more about that later, but I do feel that the health scare I had several weeks ago really is propelling me in this way to say, you know what, you guys, we have one life to live. What are we worrying about? Don't worry, be happy, go do it. And it really kicked me in the seat of the pants and made me go do what I really wanted to do. So here we go.
It's Bob's wake-up call.
Yeah.
That's what we need sometimes, and it puts your whole life in perspective. When you think that there might be some kind of a health issue, and you have that bit of concern, and you dealt with it so well, you told me about it, and you went to the doctor, and you were clear, everything is fine. But those few days that you had in between to think about it, you think about your family, you think about, what you want to do with your life, and then all of a sudden, it gets. And I'll tell you another thing. Your enthusiasm for your new boutique is going to be the thing that's going to catapult you in the right direction. You can tell I'm a speaker. Jesus. It's going to catapult you in the right direction. Hi, Lori Picken. No, I'm serious. You know that, and I know that. Anyway, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Let me talk about
that. Have a glass of wine, but I do.
Oh, I've got hot water with lemon, but you know what? Cheers.
That's good enough. Go ahead, be a wimp. Go right ahead.
What you said in the beginning too is so true, and how we have connected and we're able to talk to one another about things really authentically, organically, genuinely. It's such a gift and such a blessing. And I really believe that people are placed in our lives
absolutely
for a reason.
Absolutely. It's like when I met you on the academy, on Ken Wall's Academy. And I told you this quite a few times. I just saw there were so many people on the screen, because he has a lot of followers.
He does.
And there was something, I was just focusing, and I'm saying, something about, I got to get to know this person because I know I can connect with her. And we did. And it was like that. I think it's a good idea we bring on Bruce, because
and where's Bruce? Where's the great Oz from behind the curtain?
Hello. Oops.
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Well, first of all, who's the show brought to you by? Before we get.
Oh yeah, thank you. I was just going to say that. By the way, folks, this show is brought to you by Conversations with Bob. Conversations with Bob. It's my new book that came out actually a year ago. It's a little more than new, but right now this thing is skyrocketing. Putting a ton of stuff into it and getting great response. And if you want answers to your questions and solutions to your problems, I think this is the book to read. That's all I'm going to say. The book speaks for itself. Buy the book. Don't be a cheap bastard. Just buy the book. Okay?
Buy the book.
Just buy the book.
It's a great gift to give someone. The hardback cover and the opening. I don't have my book with me, but it is a great book to share and to gift to other people.
Absolutely. And folks, for you people that are watching, listening, please share this with everyone. Share this with your friends and all that kind of stuff. Hi, Stephen, Debbie, and Bruce. Who is that?
It's my birthday. What
is that, Laurie Chicken?
It's my birthday. It's my birthday, Laurie. It's my birthday.
I saw Laurie at my favorite restaurant last night at Francesco's. Laurie was there with a friend of hers.
She's a New Yorker.
She's a New Yorker.
Yeah.
I've known Laurie for quite some time. We're good friends.
Laurie, are you a sassy pants? Can you? I tell you, every time I visit New York, I feel like, Don't ask if you don't want to know the truth.
Yeah.
Gotta
I
give it
know.
to you straight.
I know. New Yorkers get a bad reputation, though. Everybody thinks they have attitudes. Everybody thinks they're opinionated, and they are. It's just that New Yorkers don't believe in honesty light. They believe in hardcore honesty. If you actually ask them for your opinion, if they ask you for your opinion, they're going to give you the answer, even if you
They're
don't
not
like
going
it.
to sugarcoat it.
No, yeah, and they can be a little bit rude, you know. So
They
here's
don't
my
ask, you don't want to know.
I know. Here's my impression of a typical foreigner in New York. Excuse me, can you tell me the time, or should I go fuck myself again?
That's about right. No, you know what? I love New York, and I connect with people there. Let's be real. Every single area geographically, it's almost like their own culture. It
Yep.
really is. And I love going to New York, and I kind of give it to me straight attitude. My mom's like that. She's not a New Yorker, but she totally could be, because she always gives it to you straight. And I appreciate the honesty and the no fluff. Where you don't have to try to read between the lines of what someone means.
Yeah. Yeah.
In general, I mean, we're stereotyping. Let's be real. But
Well,
in general, there is a culture in New York, and
but
it's
yes,
flavor.
and it's hard not to stereotype New Yorkers because you think about it. And now I've been, this, I've been in every state in this country at least 3 times. I've been in many places all over the world. And people from the United States have a pretty bad reputation, like in France and certain countries. They think we all have attitudes. But if you're from New York, that's a double whammy. As soon as they find out you're from New York, they just like, they have this air about them. And I get it. It's just that we walk around with confidence. We're I don't know, there's something about us that's different than most people.
Do you think that obviously it's your upbringing too.
Oh,
It's,
yeah,
it's the reinforcement of that behavior.
absolutely.
Yeah, you are the
Yeah,
best.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the way it was in my household. Everything was, in your face type of thing.
Yeah.
Very loud, so. But anyway, let's get into our topic today.
Yeah, so
Don't
actually,
worry, be happy.
we
Remember, we
talking
thought
about,
about this from our last show with
talking about being
Rizzo.
happy. So
I'm sorry?
I found the check. So I got
Oh,
this check.
What is that?
I got a check in the mail for $120,000, and then it says, so I crossed out the word "not" real check, and so now it's a real check. So now I got a real check for $120,000. So all I
Cash
need is like 9 more of these, and I'm a millionaire.
Dude, way to go.
So I'm sure the bank will take it,
The
right?
mail.
Because I'm sure the bank will take it now that it says a real check, because it says a real check.
Just because you showed that, I think you have a lot to worry about. Don't worry, be happy, Bruce.
Don't worry. Be
What do you-
happy.
What do you think that means, Debbie? Don't worry, be happy. What is that? What is that? Because when I heard that song when I was younger, I hated it. I really did.
Yeah.
You know,
Gosh, you're coming at me like, give it to me straight, W.
well, because when I heard it, I was saying, well, how can I be happy? I'm worrying.
Well,
So
don't
what are
worry.
you telling me to do? But since I got into this business that I'm in, I totally get it. I totally get it. As a matter of fact, it's, as I was alluding to what you were saying before, as far as the law of attraction goes, too many people today say that they have this mindset that something good has to happen for them in their lives in order for them to be happy.
Yeah.
And that's not the way it works.
Yeah.
No, happiness is a discipline. It's like gratitude is a discipline. And you have to sometimes, especially when times are tough, you have to push yourself to focus on what's working in your life, and rather than fixating on what isn't working, to bless the things that life has given you rather than cursing what life is currently throwing at you or has never given you. And when you have that mindset, that's how the law of attraction works in your favor. Because it's all about enjoying the process and moving forward with that mindset.
Yeah. So there are people who will say, don't you realize the gravity of the situation? What do you mean you're trying to be happy and this and this and this is popping off and da da da. But you're right. It's a discipline because you have to get into the place where you don't allow outside circumstances to dictate your joy and your
Yeah.
happiness and who you are. And I know even like, I mean, this is kind of off topic, but trust me, I'm coming in. I'm going to roundabout. But even in life, when you make decisions for yourself that you think are best for you, and you really try to invest in that. And so that is a change in not you as a person and your personality, just your boundaries or your goals toward what you're doing, and you're super focused. And but then there's a part of you who worries about everybody else and what they think about you doing this for you. And it's a discipline, because when you're a people pleaser and you've always been one to, I'll just do this because other people want me to, going from that to going to something where I'm doing this because I want to, for me, you worry about how it's going to affect other people.
Yep.
But with the topic saying, don't worry, be happy, you have to remind yourself that at the end of the day, you're living with you. It's you spend the most time with, and you got to give yourself what you need to find that joy and that happiness, and find the discipline to be okay with people not being okay.
Yep. Yep.
And so to me right now, in the phase of life that I'm in, it's more of a don't worry, be happy, because you're doing something for you. And that's great.
And sometimes that's, yeah. And sometimes though, people carry too much guilt to do for them, and they might start off in that direction to do for them, and then they realize that they feel good because they're neglecting this person or that person. Then they get back into the same syndrome.
And then that can then also create a little bit of animosity toward other people, because you feel like it's their fault because you went back to what you thought you needed to do for everybody else. When the reality is, if you really do you, everyone's going to be better off in the end, because you're not going to have that resentment.
No, exactly. And everyone's, people got to come into this planet. We should be taught this, I think, in elementary school. There are so many situations that can deter you from being happy. But when you realize, as you know, I've said this many times, and I'm going to say it again, the third principle that I live by is, whenever you're confronted with a challenging situation of any kind, it's never a matter of managing the situation. It's about how you manage your mind. This is what this whole thing is about. Can you manage your mind and those toxic thoughts and emotions that are the very things that are keeping you from finding the solution that's waiting to be discovered, and to guide you to help yourself to enjoy the process? And I know that's not easy, but there's a 17th century poet by the name of Milton, and he has this incredible saying that says, the mind is its own place. It could make a hell of heaven or a heaven of hell.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what he's saying there is, it's really not what happens to you that determines your quality of life. It's really how you identify with what's happening. It's the thoughts that you have about what's happening is what makes the difference.
Yeah.
I know people, there are people who, when confronted with something, they look at life's challenges as an opportunity for growth.
Mm-hmm.
They know it's not that they're going through life with blinders on, pretending that they're not confronted with something. It's just that they know that there's something within them that can meet that challenge head on, and they know they're going to become empowered as a result. And the more empowered that they get from dealing with that challenge, that adds more confidence, more courage, more a sense of being the victor rather than the victim, and that allows them to get more in life. But then there are those who make their challenges way more difficult than it has to be. And that has to do with their mindset. It's how they identify with the challenge.
I know. I always find it interesting when someone does say, well, don't they know what's going on? Like, this is not, and they're too dumb to know what's happening. No, really, that person is really brilliant. They've practiced mindset and
Yeah.
decided what they were going to find in a terrible situation when you can pull that good out of it. And so I think that it's very impressive. And we've all met the people. We've all met the people who in tragedy come out in a way that's so inspiring, and you think, how are they living their life? How are they doing this? How are they able to smile? That's not someone that's immune to sadness. That's someone who has the mindset to choose what you just said.
They're immune to happiness. Exactly.
They want to.
Yep.
They're not immune to sadness, but they choose their mindset to see the beauty in whatever, so they can live their life with joy and happiness.
Yep.
That is a talent, and it's a practice that we all can get better on, that I'm working on, because I shocker, I'm emotional. I'm an emotional person, and so things can hit me really, but I'm working on releasing and focusing on the good.
Yeah, no, that's so well said. And I'll tell you what, I went through a lot of stuff in my life, and a lot of it was self-imposed because I didn't know that happiness is a choice. And when I went through the divorce and all that other stuff, I'm in a place right now where I've never been happier. I've never been more content. I've never been more confident with myself. Yeah, I still go through shit. I mean, everybody does. Everybody has shit to deal with. But I think it's because I really do believe that I am the creator of my success and happiness.
Yeah, you
And
are.
I know it has to do with what I'm focusing on. And that's where that saying comes from. Don't worry, be happy, because that's people have preconceived ideas. Let me start with, before I make this point. One of the most incredible things that I ever read was from a book by the name of Dr. Scott Peck. And the book was called The Road Less Traveled. Okay. And in the very first sentence on the very first page, it blew me away. He says, life is difficult.
Life is difficult.
Life is difficult. And we talked about this before. But I remember about 30 years ago reading this going, you son of a bitch, I know it's difficult. That's why
No shit.
But then he goes on to say in his own way that once we come to this is so profound. Once we come to the realization that life is difficult, that you're going to be confronted with challenges. Some of us will be hit with the unexpected with such force that your head will swim. But once we know that, and we realize that it could happen to anyone, life becomes easier because you don't have any preconceived ideas that the universe is pointing their finger at you, picking on you, that there's a higher power saying you deserve this. This is going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And it makes things easier. And once you have that mindset.
I know I'm interrupting, but I had a visual of something, like one of my biggest fears is something happened to my kids. And people have things happen to their kids. How do you get through that? But they do. I don't know. I'm sorry I interjected with that. But like, I'm thinking it's easy for me to sit here and say heavy shit happens. We all have stuff, but you have to choose. People, I know people that have lost their kids.
Okay, I'll give you a perfect example. And that's something you'll have to live with your whole life.
Yeah.
But even then, Deb, you have a choice. At some point, you have to focus on the fact that I have other kids, or I have another life. There are other people in my life that need me for what I'm worth.
Yeah.
And I'm not making light of this.
We have our life.
Yes, but there are things that we can do. Now, I don't know the woman's name. I forgot her, but you all know, when I say this, you all know what I'm talking about. The woman who created Mothers Against Drunk Drivers.
Yeah.
Her son was killed by a drunk driver at 13 years old. He was crossing the street and he got killed. Now, that was devastating for her. For years, she wallowed in that. And then all of a sudden, she started hearing other drunk drivers hitting other innocent people. And she said, something's got to be done. She's the one, and it wasn't easy. She's the one that created Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. And it's because of her that these strict laws are enforced throughout the entire country. And because of that, this woman is responsible. God knows how many lives she
Yeah,
saved
for that
because of this
movement.
law. So
Yeah.
that's my point. That's looking at it. Not that I'm saying everyone has to go out and be a savior like that, but at
Yeah.
some point you have to be able to shift your way of thinking to something that would lift your spirit. And another thing that could help you with that is, you know, think about the person who passed away. If they really loved you, wouldn't they want you to live your life to the fullest? They wouldn't want you mourning over them forever. They would want you to be the best that you can be, and you would be honoring them by doing that.
Yeah.
You
I know
know,
one of my friends, Jennifer Miller, her son killed himself. And I mean, he was a wonderful musician. She created this huge Tristan Miller music fest. And I mean, like you said, and yeah, she told me herself, she goes, "Do I expect anybody else that's lost their child? I know how hard it is. Do I expect any other parent to do what I'm doing? No. But for me, this is part of my healing journey. What someone else may do for themselves to heal is different than what she's doing or called to do.
yep.
So, I'm not trying to turn this into a death thing, but I mean, honestly, what I think why the song, Don't Worry, Be Happy, ticks so many people off is because there's so many people in pain and they've got heavy, heavy stuff happening in their lives that
And
they're
don't
like,
know how to get out.
that's annoying. Like, I can't. But we're giving examples of people who they're not just don't worry, be happy, but they're taking the initiative and using their mindset toward healing themselves to find happiness again.
Yep.
And that's good.
Well, and I believe what one person can do, we all can do. And I'm not saying it's easy. For some people, it's more difficult than others. I was blessed my entire life because I have been with people who overcame insurmountable odds. My brother Michael, I hate to keep bringing him up all the time, but man, out of anyone I know in my family and friends, no one had more gusto for life more than he did.
Yeah.
When a couple of years after getting out of the hospital, he's the one that initiated all of us to go whitewater rafting. And we were hitting 5-class whitewater. And I have to say that he was the craziest one of all of us. He was insane. But he had this gusto for life because he focused not on what was missing, on the fact that he could pass on at any time. He focused on what he had left and what he can do with what he had, and he took every step in that direction. When I met Christopher, go ahead, what were you going to say?
No, the fact is what your brother experienced probably even gave him more of a gusto for life because he almost lost his life and he knows he's got one life to live and he's going to live it to the fullest.
Yep. But here's the other side of that. He has friends who were wounded in Vietnam, didn't even have an iota of what he went through, not this much. And they're bitter today. They're angry. They're upset that they got wounded in the war that they never should have been
Or
in.
they
The
didn't
Vietnam
make
War.
it. Some of them died
Yeah,
because of mindset.
exactly. So you have the one side where somebody where doctors gave him up for dead and said there's no way he can live. They told my mom and dad he's not going to be. I'm sorry, it'll just be a matter of time before he passes on. And that's when I saw him and he was unconscious. I was 17 years old. I'm right next to him, and up came his middle finger. That was his answer to the doctor's diagnosis.
Yeah, he wasn't going anywhere.
If you read Christopher Reeve's book, Nothing's Impossible, and here's a guy that was paralyzed from the neck down. And he lived for 9 years. And what he did in those 9 years falls nothing short of miraculous. He did more in the last 9 years of his life in that condition than most people that I know did in a lifetime. And there's a saying in his book which blows people away all the time. He said, "My life isn't what I thought it was going to be, but there is joy, there is love, and there is laughter."
Wow.
How could a guy that played the part of Superman in the movie?
How?
Yeah.
Like the irony of that.
That's what I'm saying.
So crazy.
Yeah. So, and I'm not passing judgment on anyone that might be listening.
No, the fact of the matter is this is a shot in the arm
Yeah.
to say, and we've all been there. We've all wallowed in the sadness,
Yep.
you know. So it isn't a judgment call, of course not. My goodness, because my good, you know, in certain things, even like people who haven't had really extensive, tremendous losses have loss in other ways because we're all different. You know, we handle things and situations in our lives
Yep.
better than some and not so good as others. And so, you know, I always say, you know, if someone's upset about something and you think it's not a big deal, but it's a big deal to them.
Yes.
So who
Well,
are we?
that's my point. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Your happiness is dependent upon the mindset that you have on any given day.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying. And some people make something a big deal that isn't a big deal. I know people who ruined their entire week just because their car wouldn't start.
I know.
Yeah, yes, it's frustrating.
Yeah, it
You had to get a ride to work, but these people, they can't wait to tell the story to everyone else at work, not just on that day, the whole week.
Well, I think it's that
And,
their
and
mindset
what's that?
their mindset is they're not happy unless they're complaining about something.
Oh,
Well, Bruce,
And
that's
so that
exactly it. You nailed it. Yes, because that's the habit that they created. Their use, they are, Bruce, that is so well
that's
said.
so
It's
and
funny.
they'll
It's
find
funny. He hasn't said anything the whole time, and all of a
Yeah,
sudden
no.
he comes up with the zinger.
well,
how is he going
they're
to?
going to find the cloud in any silver lining.
Yeah, because Bruce, the reason why that is because they're living in their habitual world. That's the only thing they know. And they are comfortable complaining.
Yeah,
Mhm.
They
it's
are you know, when my
Well, if
mom,
you get
God
if you
bless
get
her,
older people together, they're always talking about their ailments. Like, okay,
that's what I
I've
just
got
want
this sore arm. Well, I've got this bad sciatica. Well, I've got my eyes, my left eye. I'm seeing blurry again. Like,
I know. I know. And I was just about to bring that up. My mom, God bless her, I loved her, a wonderful person, but she always had ailments. When the worst thing you could ask my mother, "Hey, mom, how you doing today?" Soon as you do that, you're screwed because she's going to tell you, no, my arm and I got the Bengay in my head and it's hot and I keep sweating, and you're like, "Holy God!" I used to pray, and I know this might sound wrong to a lot of people, but when the phone rang and I knew it was my mom, I would pray. I would just say, God, just give me strength, and I'd have to hold the phone here, you
give
know.
me strength to hear the ailments today. Oh my God, love her.
But Bruce, that is so well said because people are comfortable in their misery
Yeah,
because that's all they know.
yeah.
That's all they know. That's what they just ask him. There's a guy at my gym. I hope he's not watching. There's a guy at my gym 2 days ago. And you could tell when he's in a bad mood because he'll come right up to you and he's very loud, you know. And I'm working out, and I like to really get into working out. He's going, just walks right up. He goes, "What the hell's with the economy?"
Oh no.
And I don't want to say his name, but because if he's listening, and also, what do you mean? He go, "Oh, you know, I go out to dinner. You know, all I had was a salad with chicken, but $28." You know, and he's going on and on. He walks away. Then he comes back again. Do you believe the Democrats? Do you believe them? He came up 4 different times with something that he couldn't wait to tell, and he wallowed in it. He
Yeah.
wallowed in it.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Oh,
What
this
were
is my
you
cousin Danny. I got hemorrhoids bad.
Thanks for sharing, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. That's a family member.
well,
Shocker.
again, a lot of it has to do with the power of positive thinking. If the saying goes, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's so right. You know, and I think, man, I don't know why schools don't do this. And when I give my presentations, I always have people coming up to me saying, "Do you speak to young kids? Kids need to know the power of their thoughts."
Let's get it in there young. Yeah.
Yeah, they need to know that they can control their quality of happiness. They need to know that when they're being bullied, it's not what the bullies believe, it's what you believe in yourself. It's your
Yeah.
thought process. You know what I mean?
You know, half of us adults still don't know. We don't know this. How are we going to teach our
know.
kids?
There within lies the
Be
conundrum.
educated so we can teach our kids this.
I know. I love my parents, but my parents, you know, the saying, you know, see the glass half full or half empty. They didn't even see the glass. I swear to God, I'm not lying. And they did a great job with us with what they knew. And Debbie, I told you what my mom experienced when she was younger, and my father, you know.
Yes.
But they did a great job. But man, they just didn't know any better. They
That's
didn't
right.
know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't.
And
So
go ahead.
no, so your book really is presented in a way that, in layman's terms, in a storytelling way, for people to understand without having to get a self-help book that might be a little too advanced if you're just learning. That's why I love Conversations with Bob, because it's a very easy to read story that draws you in. And then you can always go, like you, Steve, you've read so many books about this and the psychology of the mind and the mindset and all of this. I mean, you quote them all the time, which is great because that's how you've learned and you've grown. But and I'm not, I mean, this is not a shameless plug because I didn't write the book, but I do believe in the book. Conversations with Bob is a really good for everybody.
You know, you're right, and I'm going to have to agree with you there because it's an easy read. It's the law
really
of attraction in layman's terms. It's metaphysics without talking about metaphysics.
That's
it's a conversation, and when you read it, if you could just have the patience, it's such an easy read. It's a fun read. Tells you about the power of choice, the power of thoughts. You can change your beliefs. And a lot of people don't want to hear that though, because they feel they can't get to that point. And the older people get, the more difficult it becomes for them to shift their way of life, their way of thinking.
Yeah, and you know what I've noticed? I've noticed that as people age, they typically, I mean, there's always the outlier. I mean, come on, there's an outlier. But typically, if you look at as people age, they go one of two ways. Either really mellow and understand the way of the world and really find themselves and are okay and find the joy and appreciate. And then you have the bitter sons who are like, life's treated, dealt me this and it's that.
Yep.
Like I said, there's always the outlier to the ratio, but typically you have those different groups. And I feel like the more we educate people, and myself, I'm getting an education. I'm learning as I'm on this podcast and as I've been on this self-discovery and reading about all of this, because I want to.
Yep.
I want to be better. I want to appreciate every day. And I want, and it's not just self-help books. It's learning faith. It's learning that God exists in my world. I believe in all of that. So like, I'll have people say, Debbie, you're always talking about Conversations with Bob or a self-help book or whatever. What about the Bible? And I want to say, yes, but to me, I can read Conversations with Bob or these other books that are written in a way that it is that in a way that it's easier for me to understand and you know what I mean? I believe in God.
I know exactly what you're saying. It's we had Lisa Perna on the show last week. We had Lisa Perna.
Bruce, you're too funny.
Conversation with Bob.
By Debbie Bettendorf.
Yeah, by Debbie Bettendorf.
That's awesome.
I channeled through Debbie to write the book. I had to go through Bob first.
That's right.
Lisa Perna was on here last week, and she was saying the same thing. When she read Conversations with Bob, I mean, she knows the Bible inside out and upside down. And I didn't even know this because I never really read the Bible, but there are things in that book. She's going, you're quoting the Bible here. She said, you are actually quoting the Bible in this book. She was going from one chapter to the next, and I didn't even know I was doing that,
Yeah.
you know?
And the thing is, you're a very spiritual, God-loving man. You really are. And I knew it from the time that we met too, but I love the fact, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. Don't worry, be happy. No, I believe that you are so genuine and so easy to connect to because you're not at all going to knock me over the head with the Bible, but you're going to live the life, but you're not afraid to say, well, shit, it's not going to make you burn. You're just real. And it's easy to connect to that because, I don't want to go through life feeling like if I say the word shit, I'm going to burn in hell. I really don't believe God is judging me for that. It's how we live our life and the kindness we show other people, but ourselves. What kind of kindness do we show ourselves? And that's what I'm learning right now is I'm a people pleaser and I love to make other people feel good. But what about my needs? I'm going to quote Steve Rizzo. But what about me? Sometimes people can become bitter if they don't also fill their own cup up.
Well, we had that talk not too long ago. You're at a different stage in your life and you're blossoming into a different facet of who Debbie Bettendorf is. And it's taken you really.
Yeah.
It's holding on to you now, and it's taking you in all these different places, but you're doing the right thing. Yeah. And it can get overwhelming because you're used to living your life in one way. You are a mother, you have 2 children, your husband, Dave, and and sisters and relatives and friends depending on you for things. And now you're branching out into this other realm of your existence, and you're not ignoring it because you see what could and what is happening.
Yeah.
But you're doing it, and it's very challenging. Why? It's what we were saying earlier, because you're swaying away. I won't say breaking, you're swaying away from the old habits. It's not that you don't care about these other people, but now there's another extension of you that needs to be recognized. And that's what you're doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. And you'll find once you get more comfortable with it, you get more comfortable with who you are and what you're doing, you'll have a stronger foundation to help these other people who may be thinking that you're swaying away. They'll get it. In time. Yep.
Yeah, I know. I remember when you're in the plane, put the oxygen on you first, and then you can help other people.
Exactly.
So I believe in that too. And, it's a new venture for me and I'm really excited. And I'm, most of the people in my life are supportive.
Yeah.
But the ones that I find that are, having problems with it, I don't judge them for that, but I'm still need to not worry about it and continue on my path. When you're in trouble, your face will frown. That will bring everybody down. So don't worry. Come on with me. Be happy.
So let's God, she sings too. Let's
show some dance.
Yeah, that's cool.
Triple threat.
Triple that. Oh, I can't dance. I can, but it's not pretty.
Come on, dance. You know you can dance. You know you can dance. Remember that song?
Oh, that sounds good.
All right. So
Bruce, it's your turn.
I just want to add this, and then we'll close the show. Wow, we've been talking 45 minutes already. So you brought something up a little earlier about people bringing up past experiences when times get tough. And I think that is the core of the problem, because your subconscious runs, as you know, 97% of your life. So when you're confronted with something that's not working, your subconscious is, without you knowing it, is throwing shit into your head, bringing up those experiences. And let's say you're trying to achieve a particular goal, and all of a sudden you hit a wall. It's a major challenge. And instead of saying to yourself, okay, this is a wall here. I know there's something within me that can meet this challenge head on. Who can I go to that can help me? I know I can do this. But most people, I would say the majority of the people will go, I can't believe this is happening. Every time I try to do something, it never works. I'm always going 2 steps up, 3 steps back. Why is it that every time I try to do something, it never works? I guess dreams are for other people, and I guess I'm not one of them. I'm just not. Every time I do it, it never works. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not, and on and on and on. Some people call this negative self-talk. I call it self-curse talk because you're casting a spell on your life. That's what Bob tells Bernie in the book. And if there's anything that's going to keep you from achieving your goals, it's because of self-curse talk. If there's anything that's going to keep you from being creative and productive, it's because of self-curse talk.
Yeah.
We literally have to stop and think about what we're thinking throughout the course of a day, because those thoughts are creating our reality. And it doesn't even have to be true. That's the scary thing. But if you believe that it's true, that's all that matters in your world.
Or else you can always channel that worry and fear into something creative.
Yes.
I mean, musicians do it all the time.
But you have to become aware. You have to become aware that that's what you're doing to yourself first, Bruce, because you can't fix something unless you're aware that something's broken.
You gotta
And that's what most people have the problem. They just keep going, bantering. And all this stuff from the past is in the subconscious is like the genie of your soul going, yeah, you're right. You're not smart enough. Remember what happened 2 years ago when you tried it? It didn't work. Yeah, you're right. You're not good enough. You're not worthy enough. And before you know it, you actually created a belief system that signifies success is for other people and happiness is for other people. And you're not one of them. Life is picking on you. And that's how you become
true.
victim.
That's so true. And when you take a second to catch yourself bitching yourself out, that's what it is. It's like a total bitch session.
You're bitch slapping yourself is what you're doing. Yeah.
And you think, would anybody like you if you talk to other people like you talk to yourself? We've discussed this.
Yep.
But it always is mind-boggling to me to even still to this day, being on this journey, to catch myself ripping me about something. And then I kind of laugh and I'm like, Debbie,
Yep.
stop being mean to you.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But people are caught up in their own world, and they don't, as I said, if you're not aware of what you're doing to yourself, you can't fix it.
And like Bruce said, there are times where people like to stay in that because that's what they know.
Yeah, that's all they know.
Failure.
And they're comfortable in that.
And it's like, it's just, they're comfortable in the chaos.
Sometimes when I give workshops, somebody will come up with something and I'll try to explain to them. And as soon as I hear this, I know I'm not connecting. They'll go, yeah, but. And as soon as they say, yeah, but, then they reinforce that same negative.
Yeah. And I've seen you tune out.
What?
When you say, I know I'm not going to connect with a person because they say a certain thing.
Oh, yeah.
I watched you go somewhere else. Like, I can tell you're not paying attention anymore.
Yeah.
Certain things will be said, and then you're like, I can't, what am I going to order from the restaurant? Do I want
it's either that or I tell the person they're an asshole. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, that's a good way to protect yourself too. And that's a good point that we need when you're saying, don't worry, be happy. Sometimes we're around people that we need to be or have to be around, for whatever reason, work situations, whatever, that we are around that are negative, that can really bring our energy down.
Yeah.
And we're saying, don't worry, be happy. And you're like, well, I've got this turd that I got to work with and they're bringing me down. And so we've talked about this before, Steve, and you said it very brilliantly, that's also a mindset.
Yep.
That you can get yourself out of that situation with your mind, with that person or people that you work with, view it a different way in your mind, because these thoughts that we have, that thoughts are constantly, and many times we're ruminating on the same thoughts every day over and over. But when you become more aware that these thoughts are happening and we are in control of the thoughts will come in.
Yep.
We can allow them to go away.
Yep.
Recognize it and let it go.
Yeah. Recognize it, let it go, and then gradually shift your way of thinking to something that's a little bit more productive.
Yeah.
I know a couple who recently, and we'll end with this. I know a couple who recently, just about 4 months ago, went on vacation. They haven't been on vacation in a long time, and it was at one of the islands. I don't know, it was Bermuda or the Bahamas, and it rained a lot. And
Oh,
at first, they were very, very disappointed, but they also knew that they needed quality time together. So he looked at her, and I was surprised that it was him that said this. I'm not going to mention their names. He looked at her on the plane when they knew that the weather was really bad. That's what caused the delay at the airport. He said, "You know what?" He goes, "We can't do this to ourselves." He goes, "We've been falling away from each other." And she gave him a look like she was surprised that he said that, but it was the truth. And he said it very casually and very calmly. He said, "It doesn't matter if it rains every day. We're going to be with each other, and we will find other things to do even though it's raining. We'll go to the concierge. We'll ask them what else we can do even though it's raining." And they spent a significant amount of their time at the restaurants, sitting, watching the rains from their balcony, having dinner, and
they
being
enjoyed it.
yes, and being intimate with each other, which they haven't done in the longest time. But because of that shift in the way of thinking, they
Wow.
came back and they said it was the best vacation they ever had.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's my point. Most people would have held on to, do you believe this? 2 years we're waiting for this vacation and it's going to rain every day.
Oh,
We don't get any luck.
that would suck.
And I know it would. And it didn't rain every day. It didn't rain every day.
Oh,
They had some good days. But the fact that he nipped it in the bud before they even got there,
that's
and
good.
and he said, we deserve this. We need this, and it was, and as according to her, she was very emotional. She said he turned, and they had to call me because of what I do. They had to tell me what they did. He said he really did shift my mindset.
That's
And,
cool.
and it made me love him more than I have in a very long time. That's what she said.
Do you
So
think then
huh?
do you think then sometimes it's our responsibility to help other people out of that negative hamster wheel?
Depends on how you do it. It depends on how you do it. I mean, if you look at someone, go, listen, you need to do this. You don't
Well,
do
yeah, that's never going to work. Yeah.
No,
Well, there's that
you're
one
not, you know
scene.
what? You're spoiled. You're not focusing on all the good things you have. What, Bruce?
There's the one scene with Nicolas Cage where she slaps him in the face and get over it.
Oh,
Share.
Moonstruck. Snap out of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Snap out of it. And he did too. So, all right, folks.
I wouldn't advise slapping anybody, but you know what we mean, PayPal.
You know what we're talking about.
You know what we're talking about.
Why this show went fast. Holy shit. Cool. All right, folks. Everyone, love you. Thank you for showing. Share this with your friends, family, and everybody else that you know, and people that you don't like, especially. And because we know they need it more than anybody. Okay, good. You guys
And then,
stay on if you want to
if
talk.
you can't get enough of Steve during every other week, we also have this podcast that comes out every Tuesday.
Yeah, the audio podcast on all these channels. If you have
So-
Alexa, or if you have, go ahead. You tell Bruce.
Yeah, so if you've got your favorite podcast station, and basically we take the highlights from previous episodes and we cut it down to like maybe 10 to 15 minutes.
Yep.
So they're real quick shows.
Yeah.
So you can live through the 1 hour shows with us on YouTube, or you can get a weekly dose of Steve and Debbie.
Yeah.
It's a little dose, just a little dose of Rizzo,
And
Bruce,
Bettendorf.
and Debbie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right, you guys, stay on. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
So long, everyone. Goodbye, cousin Danny. Goodbye,
Bye,
Lori.
everybody. Bye.